Welcome to the Prepper Almanac and thank you for joining us today. It is deeply appreciated. In today's video we are going to discuss being ready for a societal collapse and learning how to turn salt water into drinkable water. And if I give you value in today's video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. Water, once considered an abundant resource, is rapidly becoming a precious commodity. Population growth and unsustainable consumption practices are pushing us towards a water crisis of unprecedented proportions. Entire regions are grappling with severe shortages already, and experts warn of potential conflicts erupting over this vital lifeline. As freshwater sources dwindle, innovative solutions are imperative. One such solution lies in saltwater. Today we're going to explore how to turn saltwater into drinkable water. This is incredible knowledge for a prepper to have in order to be ready for a societal collapse when water resources will become even scarcer. After you have watched today's video to the end, we will build on today's knowledge and I'll show you how preppers can harvest and drink rainwater. These solutions together will help prepare you for whatever the future may hold. Okay, so why can't we drink salt water? You'd think that because salt is part of our diet that we would be able to process salt water, right? Ultimately, that isn't the truth, as the salt content in seawater is much too high for our kidneys to process regularly. Human kidneys produce urine that is salty by nature, although much less salty than the ocean. Drinking fresh water helps balance the amount of salt in your body by letting the kidneys flush any excess salt out. So, what is desalination? You've probably heard the term, but what is it? Well, desalination is a process that removes dissolved solids such as salt from seawater, producing freshwater suitable for agriculture and human consumption. It's a widely used method to address water scarcity. Interestingly, desalination is not entirely a human invention. Nature itself has been performing a similar process for millennia. When seawater evaporates, the salt is left behind, and the freshwater vapor forms clouds, eventually returning to Earth as rain. Desalination primarily involves two methods: thermal distillation and membrane separation. Thermal distillation uses heat to evaporate seawater, leaving the salt behind and producing fresh water. Membrane separation, often achieved through reverse osmosis, forces seawater through a semi-permeable membrane that filters out the salt. Now that some of the technical stuff is out of the way, let's discuss some ways to turn salt water into drinkable water. Ultimately, this is the goal in order to be a self-sufficient prepper. First up is solar distillation. Solar distillation is a straightforward method for desalinating seawater inspired by the natural evaporation process. It's a scalable technique employed by both small-scale home setups and large-scale industrial facilities. A basic solar still can be constructed with a hole in the ground, lined with a waterproof material like plastic, and filled with salt water. A cup or container is placed in the center, covered with plastic, and weighted down. As the sun heats the salt water, it evaporates, and the vapor rises. When this vapor contacts the cool plastic covering, it condenses, forming droplets that collect in the central container. This simple process can produce fresh water, with the yield depending on factors like the size of the still, the intensity of sunlight, and the salinity of the water. While solar distillation is a relatively low-tech method, it does have limitations. The process is slow, and the yield of fresh water can be limited, especially in cloudy or low sunlight conditions. Additionally, the quality of the fresh water produced can vary depending on the purity of the salt water used and the cleanliness of the still. However, for those in survival situations or remote locations with limited access to fresh water, solar distillation can be a lifesaver. Switching gears to the pot and stove method. Forced distillation is a versatile method for turning salt water into fresh water, even in conditions where solar distillation might not be feasible. Unlike solar distillation, which relies on the sun's heat, forced distillation utilizes a heat source like a stove or campfire. To perform forced distillation, you'll need a pot, a glass lid, and a drinking glass. Fill the pot with seawater, ensuring it's not too full to prevent contamination. Place the drinking glass in the center of the pot, turn on the stove and place the pot lid upside down directly above the glass. As the seawater boils, the vapor will rise and condense on the lid, eventually dripping into the glass. The collected water will be salt-free. Forced distillation offers several advantages over solar distillation. It's a faster process as the heat from the stove can accelerate evaporation. Additionally, it's less dependent on weather conditions, making it a reliable option in cloudy or low sunlight environments. However, it requires a fuel source for the stove, which might be a limitation in certain survival situations. Despite its limitations, forced distillation is a valuable technique for obtaining fresh water from salt water, especially in scenarios where solar distillation is not practical. Now let's chat about reverse osmosis. I see a lot of these systems in my friends' houses. Reverse osmosis is the most advanced and commonly used desalination process, both commercially and for residential needs. The process uses a semi-permeable material which is used to filter the salt out of the seawater. The science behind it is interesting as the membrane allows the pure water to pass through while stopping the salt ions. The fresh water is then remineralized and purified and sent to a tank for storage. The salt left behind is diluted and then taken out of the system. Large facilities will dilute the remaining salt and push it right back out into the ocean. There are a few of these systems on Amazon if you want to check them out. I'll leave a link down below to the one I personally have. How about nanofiltration? Nanofiltration hasn't quite taken off yet, but is still an incredibly viable way to get purified water. I'm personally looking for all of the ways to get fresh water to be ready for anything in the future. Much like reverse osmosis, nanofilter membranes are semi-permeable. Unlike reverse osmosis, they are more permeable, which allows more water to be processed at once. The main draw is the amount of water that they can process in such a small space. This makes it potentially cost-effective and efficient for commercial use. In addition to salt, the membranes are manufactured using sulfonated components such as graphene oxide that will remove all traces of pollutants, both chemical and naturally occurring. I'll leave a link down below to a nanofiltration system as well for you to check out. Now that you have some of the methods under your belt, the question that always comes up is, should you purify the water before drinking? Condensed water is considered pure water as nothing else can evaporate with it. If your container is contaminated, however, it can lead to ruining your fresh water source. Any of the methods using distillation should be safe for you to drink without further purification. This is mainly due to minerals, bacteria, and viruses being unable to evaporate with the water. To ease your nerves, you can run it through another filter such as a life straw, but generally condensed water should be safe for consumption. As we wrap up today's video, if you have any questions or if there are any topics that you would like discussed in the future, let us know in the comments section below. We love to get video ideas from the community, and let us know what you think of today's video as well. We always appreciate input. Be sure to like today's video and subscribe to the channel to learn more about prepping and share the video with others that may have a passion for prepping or are curious about prepping in general. I mentioned in the video that, in order to build on today's discussion of turning saltwater into drinkable water, that I would show you how preppers can harvest and drink rainwater. There is a link to that video down below and is also in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Enjoy that video too. Thanks for stopping by the channel.